hear from a friend on the front lines of so many fights, Sasha Goodfriend from the National Organization for Women Mass Now.
Good morning. Thank you. Since our founding over 50 years ago, Mass Now has worked side by side with Now chapters from across the country to fight for the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. And as a young leader, I know I stand on the shoulders of generations of activists fighting for feminist democracy. And this year, on the 100th anniversary of introducing the ERA, I'm thinking about my mother who fought for the ERA, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, making me a fourth-generation activist fighting for the ERA. And I'm here so that no more generations of activists need to fight for constitutional equity. Because of them, I've grown up with legal protections against sex discrimination in school, bodily autonomy, the right to marry my soon-to-be wife. And in the last 10 years, I've been organizing with Mass Now. We've been able to pass legislation to ban the shackling of pregnant inmates. We've passed the most comprehensive pay equity legislation in the country and are on the verge of passing statewide legislation to make period products free in schools, shelters, and incarcerated facilities. But even in 2023, I feared this could all be taken away. Without the Equal Rights Amendment, the progress we've made towards women equality can be lost at any time. And these advances depend on legislation that can be repealed by Congress. In my lifetime already, many of the equality gains made by the women's rights movement have been weakened. The only right explicitly guaranteed, regardless of sex, in the US Constitution is the 19th Amendment, the right to vote. The ERA would serve as a new tool for Congress, for federal agencies, and in the courts to advance equality in the fields of workforce, pay, pregnancy discrimination, sexual harassment and violence, reproductive autonomy, and protections for LGBTQ individuals like myself. And to be honest, like we've heard today from the senator, most people I talk to around the country think the ERA has already passed, because it just makes sense. And a new recent Pew Research poll shows that nearly 80% of people around the country support the ERA being added to the Constitution. So 100 years later, after its initial introduction, it's time to fulfill the promise to form a more perfect union by publishing the ERA to the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. Now is a member-led movement, and I want to thank our member and champion for equity, Congresswoman Pressley, and all the legislators here today for introducing this bicameral resolution for the steadfast commitment to making constitutional equity a reality. Everyone has a role to play in this fight. Contact your legislators to ask them to bring this resolution to a vote. Hold consciousness-raising discussions with your community, and become a Now member to join us in building upon the work of generations of feminists in fighting for full constitutional equity.
All right, and now to close us